Hello everyone, the Kentucky Patriot here. I want to do this video entitled "No One's Coming to Save You," a true story that happened to me, that maybe you can learn from it, and maybe you can be more prepared, I say, or maybe more diverse in your training and planning, because we never know really what's going to happen. And I know people's like, well, if I do that, people think I'm paranoid, or people think this about me. Really, it's not any of their business. It doesn't matter what people think about you. What matters is you being safe, you keeping your family safe, okay? And I want to say this before I even get into the video, a couple things. Number one is this is by no means a black eye to the police. I am not here as an anti-police rant. This isn't anything. I'm just telling you what happened, okay? Same thing, number two, I know people's going to say, well, you should have done this, you should have done that. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? When things happen, you don't have the luxury of hindsight to look back and say, well, maybe I could have done this, maybe I could have done that. That's why you just need to be as prepared as possible, keep a level head, evaluate all the information of the situation that you have, make a call, and then go with it. Masad Ayub actually helped a policeman win his case one time because the lawyers were saying he should have done this, he should have done that. He said, you've had 6 months to scrutinize, hindsight, to prepare. This guy had to make a decision in a second and a half. So anyway, you want to keep a level head, do your best to make good decisions. And I know somebody's going to say you talk too much, but I have to give you this information, the backstory, and tell you what happened, or if not, you're not going to understand. And people's going to be in the comments say, I don't understand this, I don't understand that. What happened? What about this? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to give you I'm going to hurry as quick as I can, giving you much information that you can understand what happened. But this was like 14 years ago. This was a long time ago. This was after we were married, and I had my first child, Hannah. And you've seen Hannah in videos. Actually, I had one of her today shooting 1911. YouTube took it down. But anyway, she was about the age of 1. So she was to the point where, you know, she wasn't a total infant, but she couldn't speak like we are and tell us what was wrong. She'd been healthy at the time. I can't remember if it was a Friday or Saturday, but it was getting, I want to say I think it was a Friday because I think the clinics were closed on the weekends. And we have an ER in another town that's a pretty good distance from here. And it covers a huge area, so you do not want to go to the ER if at all possible. You sit there, it's just miserable. It's just, it takes forever. Again, no knock on the nurses or doctors, but I'm just telling you the facts, you know. So anyway, my little girl began to come down with something. She was running a fever. We were new parents. We were trying to think, what should we do? I told my wife, I said, let's go ahead and take her. Now, we've got an urgent care here in our town. They stayed open till midnight at that time. They wasn't a 24-hour service, but it's kind of an ER, but much smaller, much more local. I said, let's take her there tonight. You know, everything's going to be closed for the weekend. And I don't want to have to, if she gets worse, go to the ER. She's probably fine, but she's running a fever. I just worry. Let's go ahead and rather be safe than sorry. So it's 10:30 at night. She can't sleep. She don't feel good, running a fever. So we take my little girl to the urgent care down here. So time we get checked in, time they look at her, examine her, give her some meds, whatever they done, a shot, I really don't remember. It was right at midnight. So I live kind of close to town in a subdivision. But in my subdivision, what had happened is a group of men bought this gigantic piece of property and farmland, and they made a subdivision out of it. Well, down below me, they only developed it first, and as people bought those lots, they developed the second phase, then the third phase, okay? I think I'm in like the third phase because I still have a lot of property around me, and there's some houses beside me, but I have so much property up here. I don't obviously shoot here. I go to my dad's for all the range videos, but I have a huge area where I can walk the dogs. We used to have a side-by-side I drive around, have a lot of wooded area. It's pretty open. You know, I've got a view where I can see houses, but there's not really much around me, even though I live in a subdivision, if that makes sense. So anyhow, we're coming back at midnight, and I pass a house. There's only, I think, 2 other houses up here at the time. I think there's 2 more now. But there's only 2 houses up here at the time besides me, and they're on down this way. Well, the road comes right into my driveway, and then the road goes on down to the neighbor's house. Well, I go to pull into my driveway, and there's not cars parked in my driveway. There's cars parked in my yard. And my driveway comes in like this, and I have a detached garage with a breezeway, then my house. and they're literally parked in my yard, not in my driveway, but in my yard. 2 or 3 cars here, and then my driveway comes like this, and then I've got a real steep bank like this that goes on up to the woods. There was cars parked on this bank on the side, and I was literally scratching my head looking, thinking, do I see what I think I see at midnight? What is going on? And the first thing I smell ambush. But then as you kind of think, wait a minute, surely to goodness anybody that's going to ambush you would have more sense and than to be right out front where they get spotted a mile off. So I kind of ruled out ambush because they would have hid their vehicle somewhere else, surely anybody with a lick of sense. So I thought, this is odd. And I've got a 1-year-old and my wife with me in a vehicle, and I pull into my driveway, and people say, hey, you should have left, you should have missed, your home's your castle. Like I said, you would have, could have, should have, but your home's your castle, and I've got a sick child. I thought, what is going on here? These vehicles are in my yard. There's some on this bank, parked sideways in a real odd position. I thought, you can call me a coward, I really don't care. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to call the police. I said, I'm going to call 911 and tell them what's going on. I don't really know what to say. I can't tell any crimes being committed, but they are definitely trespassing. They're literally in my front yard, and they're literally on the side of the bank. So I called the police, called 911. And I'll tell you, when you come up my road, I'm actually not in city limits, but the road that you turn into to come to my subdivision, they are in city limits. So that's how close we are. We're not 40 miles out somewhere. We're not like in Oregon where you drive 50 miles and don't see any houses. No, we're close to town. So anyway, we call 911, tell them what's going on. They say, we'll be right out. We wait 5 minutes, nothing happens. We make 10 minutes, nothing happens. We make 15 minutes, nothing happens. 20 minutes goes by and you say, oh, it ain't that long. It's a long time when you've got your kid in the back that's sick, wanting to go in, don't understand what, don't feel good. You got your wife sitting there in the car and you're just waiting. It's in a situation, and I know there's different colors of orange, yellow, red. You know how it goes of your alertness or your awareness of of the situation. But I won't say that I was in red. I didn't feel my life was threatened, but I was definitely in caution. I was definitely like, something's going on here that's weird. Well, after about 20 minutes, I told my wife, I said, I think I'm going to go ahead and call the state police. I said, I don't see nothing happening here, and I don't feel like my life's in danger, but we did notice some people over there in the woods, and they had flashlights and lanterns, and they were like moving around. I thought, man, this is so odd. I don't know what's going on here. So I called the state police, and they said, has this already been reported? I said, yeah, I called 911 about 20 minutes ago. I didn't know if they dispatched you guys. I didn't know if we're just trying to, they said, nope, sorry. If you've already called 911, it'll be on the sheriff or the city, depending on if the city wants to, come out of city limits a little bit, but we're not doing it. Again, not throwing off on the state police. That's their protocol. So it was in the sheriffs and local police. I said, okay. I called 911 back. I tell them again the situation. I said, are they close? What's going on? We've been here for a while. And this was the 30-minute mark. I called the state police about the 20-minute mark. The 30-minute mark, it's been 30, 35 minutes, somewhere in there. I called the locals back. I said, we're here close. We're not really out very far. Are you guys close? Or they're like, we've got somebody, the call's been put in. There ain't much we can tell you. We don't know. They should be there shortly. Well, 30, 35 minutes is a good wait. And again, I didn't feel like my life was in danger, but what if it would have been? What if this would have been a home invasion? And people was like, oh, just call the police. The police will take care of everything. In a home invasion, 10, 15 minutes is an eternity. 30, 35 minutes, it's not going to be a good scenario if you're not prepared. Now, this was before I had my dog Bullet. If you've seen him in older videos, trust me, if we had Bullet at the time, this would not have happened. He was a working line German Shepherd, a great protector. And I talked a lot about protection dogs. And we had an alarm system at the time, but we did not have a camera system. So we just had an alarm system. So this is where I'll probably get scrutinized. And like I said, I didn't have hindsight. I didn't have do this, do that. I'm just telling you, I took the information I got. I seen what was going on around me, and I made a call. I told my wife, I said, I tell you what we're going to do. I said, obviously they're not in the house. I said, because the alarm's not going off and I wasn't notified. So since then we had a camera system. We could have seen what was going on. We didn't have that luxury at that time. So get a camera system, get your dogs. Talked a lot about dogs, especially protection dogs. But anyway, those little dogs, like I said, we had, they bark, but they're not a threat. So they let you know somebody's coming, but these guys wasn't worried about the little dogs we had. So anyway, long story short, I said, they're not in the house. My wife is very proficient with firearms. She helped teach the gun classes for years with me. I said, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to get you all in the house, and you all fortify, you barricade. I said, if somebody knocks on the door, rings the doorbell, you know good and well it's not me. I've got a key. I said, so you hunker down. I'm going to go see what's going on. And right, wrong, indifferent, you said that was done, whatever. I'm just telling you what happened. And I'm not going to go into all of what I did or didn't do. I think that's, I'm going to leave that off for YouTube. But I was armed. I will tell you that. I was armed, and I did go see what was going on. And when I approached up there, I didn't make myself known. I wanted to be swift, but I wanted to be silent. I wanted to kind of get some reconnaissance and see what was going on. I'm not trying to sound tactical. I'm not trying to sound, but I'm just being honest. I wanted to see what was going on without them knowing my presence. I wanted to see, is this a threat? Is this legit? What's going on here? And like I said, I was definitely armed. So I noticed that they was in the woods. Now they're up on top of the hill. So like I said, I made my way quietly and as stealthily as I could while moving ground, because I wanted to get up there and see what was going on. And by this time, you want to keep a level head, but I won't say that I was furious, but I was upset. Here it is after midnight, and at that time I worked days, nights, evenings, weekends, holidays. I was on call all the time. I had to work Saturdays, I had to work Sundays a lot, so I could be called out any minute. I got a sick kid. This is not how I want to spend my AM time. It's after midnight now, or getting close to midnight. So time I get them in there and get up the hill, I see a bonfire. I thought, what in the world? This is private property. What in the world is going on up here? So I get up there and I start hearing some talking, and I can't hear what they're saying. But I thought, So I keep getting closer, and I noticed they have no idea that I'm there, and I get closer, and I get closer, and I get closer. And at this point, I realized it's probably not a threat. These are young kids. When I say young kids, I'm talking high school and college age. And they're just drinking and partying. They're not loud. I could hear them talking, but I couldn't hear them from the house. But I could hear them up there, and they're not screaming and carrying on, but I can certainly get in earshot where I hear what they're talking about. They're just laughing, talking about sports, talking about girls, whatever. I then make my presence known, and they about die. Like I said, I came in not to be a jerk, but I came in with the attitude of I'm not happy about this, and I didn't intentionally try to bully, intimidate, scare them, but I think it certainly got my message across when I made my presence known, and they could easily see that I was well armed. I didn't point a firearm at them, but they seen that I was equipped and that I could take care of business if the situation arose. However, like I said, just good kids, just made some bad choices. I get to talking to them up there, and I said, what are you doing? They're like, oh, we're sorry. We just come up here. I think they had a ball game or something. We just came up here after the game. We were just going to have a bonfire. We're sorry. We're sorry. They started apologizing. I said, fellas, you know this is private property. We're sorry. I said, and you guys parked in my yard, not my driveway, my yard. There's tire tracks all in my yard. You parked on the side of the hill. What were you thinking? They're like, we're sorry. We thought our buddy lived there. I said, you thought your buddy lived there? I said, you might want to make sure you think your buddy lives somewhere before you park. I said, that's my house. And I've got a young kid. I said, we come home and I explained the situation. At this point, I am not near as upset. I have de-escalated because I was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 once too, and I realized they wasn't a threat. They didn't mean any harm. They just done some. I said, but why would you park in our yard? Like, oh my God, we're sorry. Then I said, guys, let me ask you this. I said, whose idea was the bonfire? I said, well, you're up here with a bonfire, which I like to camp out, I like to cook out too. I said, but you're all drinking. I said, what if this fire gets out? You're not going to be harmed. You just run and get in your vehicle and run off. I said, this forest catches on fire. Guess whose house is right here? They're like, yours. I'm like, exactly. I said, I've got a little sick girl in there. We just got back from urgent care. And, so at this point, I was trying to explain to them, really you need to pay attention, but make better decisions, because even though you don't mean for this to happen, that big huge fire that happened in Gatlinburg a few years ago that burnt a lot of Gatlinburg, it was somebody just had a campfire that didn't mean no harm. But whether you mean to or not, that's like know your target and what's behind it. Even if you don't mean to, you're still responsible for that round. You're still responsible up here. You get a bunch of kids up here with a bonfire, it gets out, there's a whole neighborhood of people. And so they were real apologetic. Come to find out, some of them knew me. I didn't recognize them, but they're like, we know who you are. We're so sorry. And one of them specifically, he said, you go to church with my grandparents. And I will not say his name. He was an adult at the time. He was 19 or 20. He was in college. But he's like, oh my gosh, please don't say nothing. Please don't tell on me. I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again. You know, that type. And then another kid had a scholarship. And he was like, if they find out I go to a certain school this isn't accepted, if they find out that I'm drinking, oh, please, I'm so sorry. So I was like, all right, guys. And I understood and I wasn't upset, but I still wasn't like buddy with him. We came down in marching order, and they still knew that I wasn't happy. They knew that I wasn't going to hurt them, but they knew that I was upset. I had to be up there at midnight. That I got a sick kid. I'm up here dealing with you guys. And they put out the fire and they apologized and they're sorry. We come marching down the hill, and here comes the sheriff. So what I'm saying is, nobody's coming to save you. If it's an hour response time, you're in trouble. You are in trouble, especially if you live out in the country. My house here is really close to city limits, okay? Not way out in the boonies somewhere. And when we go shoot, we go to my mom and dad's house. It's 20 minutes away. So if you live out like that, be prepared. But anyway, we get down, here's the sheriff. It's not actually the sheriff, it's one of the deputies. And he sees us marching down, and again, let me tell you, I'm just going to stop and tell you this really important. If there would have been an active shooter, if I would have had to use my firearm to defend myself, when the cops come, you stay armed till you see those blue lights. Do not disarm, okay? Because you never know when another threats may arise. Then when you see the blue lights coming, you put the gun down, you put your hands up in the air. He's coming on a shooting situation. He's already worried. He's already concerned for his own life. He don't know who's the good guys and bad guys. He's trying to sort it out without hindsight. So you disarm. Well, in this situation, I didn't. I was in a ready position, but I didn't. And around here it's rural. I'm not telling you to or not to, but the situation. He pretty much seen what happened. I did not disarm when he got there, and I explained to him what was going on. And he is like, "You have got to be kidding me!" He is furious. So he started really giving those kids a ripping. He said, "You mean to tell me?" And he was pointing fingers, and he was going to take them to jail. Well, while he was talking to him, very upset, here comes the city police. The city police gets up there. He wants to know what's going on. I tell him while this guy is just reading them the riot act, and he's going to take them to jail. And I always told these kids I wouldn't tell their names. So if they're watching this, I'm still not going to tell your grandparents. It's been 14 years. You tell them, that's up to you. But some of them were crying. I don't say this to belittle them, but they thought they was in trouble. Thought they was going to jail. They'd never been in trouble. They were crying. And after that, policeman really let them know that was unacceptable. I got him over there and I said, "Look," I said, "how about this?" I said, "I know this one kid. I go to church with his grandparents." I said, "They're good people." I said, "He just made a mistake." I said, "This kid," I started talking about, I said, "I was upset. I felt threatened. But after I kind of read the situation, I realized it wasn't a threat. They just made some dumb decisions." I said, "How about this?" I said, "If I can find enough kids in enough cars who hasn't been drinking that can drive, we'll fill up all the cars. The ones that have been drinking can just fill in the cars in a passenger seat. They'll load up all their stuff. They've already put out the fire. They'll get out of here. I don't want to press charges. Is that all right with you?" And we talked it over. He's like, "Man, you should," and I said, "I know." I said, "But I was dumb once too." I said, "I don't want to ruin these kids' lives and get them in trouble just because they made a dumb mistake." You know what I mean? So read the situation. And he's like, "Well, it's up to you if you don't want to press charges." I said, "No, I don't think I will." So I got those boys together before they left. I said, "Listen," I said, "what if somebody tells you want to come back up and have another camp?" They're like, "No, we promise, we'll never do it again, we promise." I said, "Listen, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you understand what they're like, we do, will never happen again, we're sorry." We let them get in their cars, they leave, never seen hide nor hair of them again. The boy I went to church with his grandparents, he was actually working at a restaurant. He was waiting tables, and me and my wife, and my kid might have been with me, I don't remember, But we went in after that, and he was working there. And he's like, you remember me? I said, I sure do. He's like, man, he said, I am so sorry. He said, I thought about that. He said, thank you so much for not telling Mama and Papa, my mom and dad on me. And he said, man, I'm so sorry. And he was so apologetic. So it all ended up being just fine. And no harm, no foul. I'm not upset. But do you see what could have happened? This is why you have to be prepared. This is why you have to be armed. This is why you never know. Who would have thought that coming back home at midnight, there would have been any situation. And this is why you can't depend on the police to save you. An hour response time. I don't know if you've seen, I think it's in Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, somewhere where the police aren't answering calls at night. Unless it's like an active shooter, they're not answering calls. They're not answering burglaries. They're not answering. You need to have the mindset, no one's coming to save you. You need to think a little bit, be prepared a little bit. I'm telling you to live paranoid. I'm just telling you to have a few things, whether it's a med kit, things I've talked about having in your vehicle, having in your house, preparing for a rainy day. You never know what you're going to face, and you being prepared and you having the mindset of if I'm in a situation, I've got the ability, I've got the skills, I've got the tools, I've got the tactics to safely get me and my family out. It's just smart. It's just, I'll say this and then I'll try to conclude this video. But if you have homeowners insurance, nobody thinks you're paranoid. Nobody thinks you're stupid. They think he's not planning on something happening, but if something does happen, he's prepared. A lot of times if you try to EDC or you try to have a bug out bag or if you prep a little bit, people may think, well, he wears a tinfoil hat. Literally, it's not about what people think. It's not about you trying to be the status quo. It's not you trying to impress your friends. It's about you keeping you and your family safe in all situations, because you don't know what may or may not arise. And we need to have the mentality to be self-sufficient, love your neighbor, help your neighbor, but nobody is coming to save you. Do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. Appreciate each and every one of you. We wish you and yours the very best. May God bless you. The Kentucky Patriot, signing off.